name is Razel. I'm staying at affordable or low income housing, and I just wanted to give you the pros and cons from living here for at least 3 months. And these are coming from my perspective and what I can also find online. And let's jump into it. So I'm gonna jump into the pros of affordable housing. For me, the application process was one of the most easiest things that I've experienced, especially with the apartment that I'm renting right now. It's fairly new. This whole building is actually newly constructed. So I think that as they were willing to get people in as soon as they could. Once I submitted all my information, at the application, they got back to me fairly quickly. I was able to submit, everything, my pay stubs, my W-2s, everything that you can think of, what's in my bank account, the amount that's in my bank account was sent to them. They even got to my employer to verify that I am an employee at that company. So getting the green light for that and was another wait. However, moving in here was fairly quick. Another pro for me was that the first month's rent was free and I had to pay the deposit to move in, so that was $500 for 1 month. And I'm sure there's other places that also mark that as an incentive for you to move in, but I was just very lucky, very grateful that the first month I wasn't going to be paying rent for that. And I think that also cushions into the transition of moving, and it helps you, it does feel very supportive, especially in a city like where I'm from. My next pro is that there is a predictability aspect to the rent, so you know how much you're paying monthly, and it's something that they decide on in your lease agreement, and it's controlled. So no matter how much I use of electricity, utilities, water, everything, it's the same for every month. So that's something that I really enjoy, and I am also going to admit that this is my first apartment, so I have never had to experience paying something separate outside of the lease. Everything is in the lease agreement for me, that I pay. Besides internet, that's another thing that I pay, but that's besides the point. I'm pretty grateful that I know how much I'm going to pay for every month. And my last pro is that we have a washer and dryer on every floor, so we don't have to go to a different building, or not to a different building, but to a laundromat to do our clothes. It may not be free, but it's still a place to do your laundry. And we also have a trash room where we could use the trash chutes to throw away our trash. So that's another good thing about this whole building. And now I'll jump into the cons. The con is, or the many cons that I could think of, is the area. I know that a lot of people view their apartments before they rent out to them, but at the time that I was looking to rent out a place here, they had a temporary office at a different apartment place, or they had a different office over at a different apartment, and I never got to see, it never occurred to me to check out the area where the actual apartment that I was going to be renting was going to look like, because I assumed, which is not a good thing to do, never assume anything, but I assumed it was going to be at a reasonable area where it was going to be okay. I think if I can give one piece of advice in this video, is to at least view the outside surroundings of the place that you're interested in before renting for sure, even if you're looking for a deal. And I think that's what that was mostly in my mind, was trying to find an affordable apartment. And that leads me into one of my next con of parking. So there was no assigned parking that came with there was no assigned parking. So every day you just have to fend for your life and try to parallel your way into parking spots, because knowing where I live right now, it is bunched up. I'm right next to a church. I'm next to smaller apartments. I'm next to, I think, mobile homes or trailer homes that are not too far from here. And the neighborhood I'm nearby, I'm in such a very overcrowded area where there is no parking, essentially no parking. So I have to come back at a certain time to know that I can find parking, because if I do leave and maybe come back, it's gone for guaranteed. So that's just one of the many things of living in a city, of course, but you do want to try to find ways to minimize your stress if you can. So with that information, I definitely recommend finding a place with assigned parking for a peace of mind. And I think that also leads to another con of maybe the types of people that you see around affordable housing. So maybe it's not your typical suburban neighbor that you're around, or you just have to be very open-minded, and the population is very diverse here. I'm also a very diverse person as well, ethnically diverse. So you just have to keep an open mind. And with the spaces as well, you would think a beautiful place is bound to be wrecked in some sort of way. Like the way it's like going into a movie theater with popcorn. The movie theater, you watch the movie, and then maybe coming out, there's popcorn on the floor. You know, there's napkins everywhere. There's sodas. That's just maybe the way I can explain it, you know, but for every place. So that, I guess that's something I didn't think about, but maybe in the hallway you'll see dog poop. So that is something to keep in mind with living in affordable housing. You come with the personalities that inhabit these spaces.